I've seen people argue yesterday Oscar was too focused on Lando, which I don't necessarily agree with, because I think they were too focused on the race win initially, which I get, because if they focus on the race win, then they're going to be able to kind of be behind Lando. They're going to be ahead of Lando. But at the same time, your battle, I think Oscar Piastri's mindset heading into every single race weekend, regardless of where they are, is to focus on Lando, what he's doing. Because he's got a lead in the championship, he needs to just see every single race weekend as a match play scenario, like in golf, like whatever sport. Your direct opponent in this championship this year now is your teammate. So it doesn't matter if you finish 9th every race, but your teammate finishes 10th. You're finishing ahead of them, and you're increasing your championship lead, and you're not going to lose. That is the approach that Oscar needs to really take. And I think his side of the garage, and maybe Oscar in the cockpit as well, lost sight of that yesterday. And they should have focused more so. They noticed that they couldn't get past Charles Leclerc very comfortably, as we also predicted, because if they led after the first lap, or Charles led after the first lap, that Ferrari is going to be very difficult to overtake in a straight line. It's where McLaren have their weaknesses, in a sense, is that they've got a very good car in clean air, but they don't have the top speed of everyone else. And he came unstuck there, and that's ultimately where he lost his race, where he could have maybe just sat behind Charles even longer, or extended his first stint one in clean air and do that one stop. So and just think about holding on to that track position from Lando and force Lando to do the overtake. I think that's where he's gone wrong, isn't it? Ultimately, it's forced Lando to do the overtake. He's the chaser in the championship. He's the one who's chasing you down. He's the one who's got to take on more risk. So hold on to track position. If Lando gets you and he overtakes you, fair enough. Okay, yeah. But I held on to track position, and I don't know why he gave it away, to be honest with you. And I'm surprised his side of the garage decided to give it away. So yeah. You don't think McLaren screw over Piastri, did you? I hate when their fans say it. No, so that's what I tweeted out, Fratterson. When Oscar wins, McLaren fans say Oscar's being favoured. When Lando wins, Oscar fans and McLaren fans say Lando's being favoured. Neither of them are being favoured. They're both being given a fair crack at the whip. At the end of the day, they are more than double the amount of points ahead in the constructors. They've got that wrapped up, then Ferrari in second. So they're allowing them to fight, and we need to absolutely praise McLaren to allow them to fight and to allow each side of the garage to go against each other, basically. That's so rare in F1. So rare in F1 that we get that, even when we have had, on the rare occasion, two teammates in the same team fighting each other. I think in the Mercedes era, Lewis and Rosberg, they weren't allowed alternate strategies, I don't think. They always pretty much had to... It was almost like, well, it's whoever is the quickest driver. You're not allowed to do alternate strategies. You're not allowed to have an unfair advantage there. I think they obviously did it a couple of times because a driver may have been out of position on the rare occasion. But the majority of times it was you're on the same strategy and it's how you manage your tyres and whether or not you can be quicker than the driver ahead and overtake. Whereas, thankfully, we still got some good battles between them. Same thing with like Bottas, but I'm trying to think of when there were inter-team battles. Webber and Vettel, there was a bit of unfairness there, obviously favouritism more towards Vettel. You can decide whether that was right or wrong at the time. And we very rarely get this, which is why it's so unique and so brilliant to watch, personally, in my opinion. And I don't agree with the McLaren fans, and I think it's just standard tribalism online, what we see in F1 now, unfortunately, these days, where your driver can do no wrong and you just completely see that everyone else, everything's unfair because your driver, you only see it from that blinded viewpoints, you know. Whereas if you actually sit back and look at it, and it's like, well, no, Lando had to also make that one-stop strategy work. Like, many drivers would not have been able to have done that many laps and maintained that pressure and held on to that lead with Oscar Piastri with much fresher tyres, chasing him down. He had 15-lap fresher tyres. So easy for Lando to make a mistake, and he did very well under pressure. So You have to give credit where it's due, regardless of whether you're a fan of that driver or not. So, and it's going to be a great run towards the title for Oscar and Lando. If Oscar can continue to make Lando twitch, the title will be his. Yeah, well, this is the thing, is that Lando has been trailing Oscar for quite some time now, isn't he? When did Oscar take the lead in the championship? I can't remember when he took the lead. He's been leading for quite some time now, isn't he? Lando only really led because of that initial first race, and then Oscar's really pegged him back, completely swung it around. Lando keeps pegging him back, but then Oscar then chucks in a race win and extends his race lead again, his championship lead. So it's intriguing whether Lando can Lando even regain that championship lead. I mean, he most definitely can. There's only 9 points between them, but if they're going to finish 1-2 every race, then there's only 7 points difference between first and second. So Lando needs to win a couple of races in a row to at least ensure that he retakes a championship lead, because Piastri doesn't look like, or even McLaren doesn't look like they're going to end up outside of the top 2 at the moment, do they? Because of how dominant they are. So